Chapter 1540. But thinking of his promise to Huayin, if it wasn't for Huayin's help, he wouldn't have won the battle in the palace and become the new emperor of the Western Cloud Country. Your Highness, are you not satisfied with these conditions? Tangwa shook her head and smiled softly. I'm just not satisfied with you. Seeing Tang was shaking her head, the Western Cloud Emperor thought he had a chance. But when he heard Tangwa's words, the smile on his face gradually disappeared. Then what is your Highness dissatisfied with me? Tangwa supported her chin with one hand and said, too flowery, too old, too ugly, too stupid, too naive. The ministers of Xia country, your Highness Princess Royal is wise. Lin Yuexiang and her two sons looked at each other, and a smile appeared on their faces again. His Highness' conclusion was really amazing. The Western Cloud Emperor has countless concubines and is really flowery. This year, he is in his 40s and is indeed very old. Looking at his appearance, they then turned to look at Yun Buxiu, who was sitting at the side. He wasn't young either. It was as though time hadn't left any traces on him. He was still the same as before. This Western Cloud Emperor was truly ugly. As for being too stupid, he was really stupid. Only someone with a brain that was stuck in the door would think that their Princess Royal would marry him. Being the Empress, being the Princess Royal, would be so comfortable. Therefore, this person was really naive. When Yun Buxiu heard Tangwa's words, he was first happy and then quickly looked at himself. He can't see his appearance and actually lowered his head. From the reflection of the wine cup, he can see that he is not bad. He is relieved. It seems that in the future, he will have to make some nourishing flower tea for himself to keep his appearance young and not be disliked by Her Highness. This time, the Western Cloud Emperor is really angry. Your Highness Princess Royal, this is too humiliating. You are the one who is humiliating. What can you do to me? Tangwa said with a smile. She has worked hard for more than 20 years and finally cultivated a large group of people and established a unique position. In this Xia country, it can be said that she can do whatever she wants and Tangji will indulge her. She estimated that if she wants to be the emperor, Tangji will not oppose and will be very happy. What could a mere West Cloud Emperor do to her? Emperor of Northern Xia, is this how you treat your guests? I've long heard of Princess Royal's reputation, but seeing her today, I didn't expect her to be so unsightly. Tangji raised his eyelids slightly and said casually, Jin dotes on her. What about you? Yun Buxiu was anxious. What did he mean by you spoiled him? He was clearly spoiled too. Everyone spoiled him together. Why did he have to take all the credit? The ministers below also had a look of, even if you're the emperor, you can't steal the credit like this. They also had a share in spoiling the eldest princess. They couldn't take all the credit. But it was just right. Obviously, Tangji's words were more imposing. After all, he was the emperor. The West Cloud Emperor really didn't expect the result to be like this. He looked at Tangji angrily. Emperor of Northern Xia, do you want to start a war? I like peace, but the dog on the other side of the wall has to jump out and bite people. But I'm not afraid. Winter is coming, and it's a good time to catch the dog and stew it with dog meat soup. The West Cloud Emperor was angry. You all are too much. Imperial brother, I don't want to look at him. This person is old and ugly and stupid. Throw him out. Everyone is waiting to eat. If he continues to be hungry, he will have stomach problems. LV Yuji echoed. Your Majesty, Her Highness is right. If you don't eat on time, it will be bad for your stomach. Chapter 1541. There are so many courtiers here. It's not good if they are really hungry. LV Yuji continued. Your Majesty, this subject is indeed very hungry. Now my stomach is a little uncomfortable. Lin Yuexiang said without changing her expression. She didn't even cover her stomach. She really didn't give any face. Your Majesty, this subject is also hungry. Then, all the courtiers stood up. Your Majesty, this subject is very hungry. I don't know when we can eat. I'm also hungry, Yun Buxiu said. Tangji looked at this scene and almost laughed crazily. He must be the happiest emperor in the history of Xia. This was really the unity of all the people. He was so comfortable. It was said that when one was in a good mood, one would live a long life. Since ancient times, emperors had short lives. He must be the one who lived a long life. Come, throw these people out for me. Tangji didn't hesitate anymore. Everyone was waiting to eat. He couldn't let so many of his own people starve for an outsider. They might even get sick from hunger. Most importantly, his precious sister didn't want to look at this person. He must throw him out. The West Cloud Emperor struggled and shouted, "What are you doing?" Then, he was thrown out. After the eyesore was thrown out, Tangji waved his hand. Everyone has been waiting for a long time. Now, we can eat. Without the Emperor of Shiyun country, the royal family, ministers, and other people who were present were eating happily. They felt that today's vegetarian dishes were really fresh and tender. They were crispy and delicious. The meat was also very tender and smooth. It was really good. If there was a palace banquet every day, it would be really great. The next day, the news that the West Cloud Emperor was thrown out at the palace banquet because he failed to marry Princess Royal. This news was spread like wildfire. The West Cloud Emperor originally thought that the people would be worried about the war when they heard such a thing. He never expected that. Well done. That dog of a West Cloud Emperor actually dared to have ideas about our Princess Royal. Bah, it's really an insult to Princess Royal. Is Princess Royal only worth 9 cities? I heard that the West Cloud Emperor even threatened the Emperor with war. That's why the Emperor was angry. Haha, do you think we are afraid? As long as he dares to fight, we won't be afraid. If we really go to war, I'll give half of my family's assets to our officers and soldiers and ask them to fight fiercely. In the end, the Western Cloud Emperor left silently. The Northern Xia country's emperor was fierce, the princess was fierce, the ministers were fierce, and the commoners were especially fierce. War? He really didn't dare. Anyone with a bit of knowledge would know that Bei Xia had a strong army. How could they fight? Chapter 1542. I still don't believe that I can't compare to her. If 1 year isn't enough, I'll take 10 years. If 10 years aren't enough, I'll take 20 years. If 20 years aren't enough, I'll take 30 years. I'll definitely surpass her. After that, Yun Huayan really began to help Shiyun develop. Unfortunately, she didn't know much about this. Even though she had read many books and even endured her disgust for Tang Guo to read some stories about her. For the sake of Yun Buxiu, she even humbly consulted the old farmers and followed Tang Guo's method. Unfortunately, she wasn't Tang Guo. Even if she copied her, she couldn't draw the same thing. The results were really too different. Since the last time, Bei Xia had cut off contact with them. The other countries also knew that the two countries were not on good terms, so they didn't dare to have more contact with them for fear of angering Bei Xia. Just like that, 3 years passed. Shiyun country only improved a little, but Yun Huayan didn't give up. After 10 years, Shiyun country finally improved a little. The emperor of Shiyun was a little happy. At least he had a goal. Over the years, he had thought a lot. He didn't want to be complacent when he became the emperor and thought that he could really marry the eldest princess of Bei Xia. If he could turn back time, he would definitely not do that. Perhaps Shiyun country had already developed very far by sucking up to Bei Xia. But Yun Huayan had helped him and was also his benefactor. Now, there were many things that Yun Huayan had to do. He could only turn a blind eye to it. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. Yun Huayan thought that the current Shiyun country should not be worse than Bei Xia. She didn't immediately let the emperor of Shiyun order to attack Bei Xia. Instead, she planned to secretly go to Bei Xia to inquire about the situation. Moreover, it had already been 20 years since she last saw Yun Buxiu. She wanted to see if the eldest princess was still as beautiful as she was back then after 20 years. She looked at herself in the bronze mirror, who was gradually aging. She had carefully taken care of her appearance. That eldest princess was slightly older than her. Could she be better than her? People would age. No matter how well they took care of themselves, they couldn't resist the passage of time. When they entered the city of Bei Xia, Yun Huayan was a little surprised. The cities that they passed by were really too prosperous. Basically, she didn't see any cities that were not prosperous. Almost every city could be compared with the imperial city of Shiyun country. Her heart had already sunk to the bottom of the valley. When she arrived at the royal city of the northern Xia country, she looked at the magnificent city walls and the tall, strange buildings that rose from the ground. She only pursed her lips and didn't say a word. How could she have forgotten that in the past 20 years, she had been improving slowly while Northern Xia had been improving rapidly? It was impossible for them to catch up. However, she still wanted to see Yun Buxiu and the eldest princess, even if she had already lost. Tomorrow is the death anniversary of Princess Fengxua and the Imperial Preceptor. Every time this day comes, my heart hurts. This sentence suddenly entered Yun Huayan's ears, causing her to be stunned. Death anniversary? She must have heard wrongly. How could Brother Buxiu die so early? As for the eldest princess, she lived like a princess. With so many people spoiling her, she would also live for a long time. There was still no clear winner between them. She hadn't won against her yet. How could she die at that time? After asking many people, she got the same answer. They were dead. Yun Huayan walked in the royal city in a daze. She heard many stories about Tanghua and Yun Buxiu. On the day of their death anniversary, she bought a courtyard in the royal city, which was just opposite the eldest princess residence. Live together and fly away together. Dream on. When I die, I will also occupy a place here. Don't think about having peace. Chapter 1543. When Tanghua opened her eyes, 4 people appeared in her line of sight. 2 men and 2 women. They looked very young, probably in their early 20s. The 4 of them had pretty good appearances. The men were handsome and the women were beautiful. However, one of the women was very thin and her face was a little pale. However, it wasn't hard to tell that she was quite good-looking. If her skin was rosy again, she would definitely look better. I feel that this city is really strange. The one who spoke was another girl. She looked cute and playful. She lowered her voice and said, "Why are they so happy? They keep smiling every day. Isn't it strange?" This girl was called In Xiaofei. In this world, she was a relatively important female supporting character. After all, it's the Rubik's Cube world. The city inside definitely isn't normal. This was In Xiaofei's brother, In Rue. A supporting male lead who had always been secretly in love with the female lead was only willing to take out the key passed down by his ancestors to open the Rubik's Cube world. It was a very simple bronze plate that was not exquisitely crafted. Naturally, the man and woman sitting on the other side were the male and female leads of this world. The male lead was called Di Qinming and the female lead was called Yi Yingxue. The cause of this matter was the female lead, Yi Yingxue, who had a terminal illness. Di Qinming and Yi Yingxue were very loving. However, Yi Yingxue's terminal illness broke all their sweetness. Although the 2 of them had good family backgrounds, they were helpless in the face of terminal illness. They tried many methods but still couldn't find a way. In the end, in order to let Yi Yingxue live longer, they chose conservative treatment. They used traditional Chinese medicine to gently nurse Yi Yingxue's body. Because she didn't go through chemotherapy, she didn't keep her long hair. However, because of the terminal illness, her hair was a little yellow and dry. It wasn't as black and beautiful as before. The doctor once said that Yi Yingxue could only live for 3 years at most. After 3 years, she would definitely die. This was the result after they nursed her back to health. Di Qinming wasn't willing to accept this result. He began to flip through all kinds of strange ancient books. Finally, he found a strange ancient book. After deciphering the words in the ancient book, he knew about the existence of the Rubik's Cube world. In the Rubik's Cube world, he could find medicine that could cure terminal illnesses and even prolong life. However, in the Rubik's Cube world, he needed a key. Coincidentally, he saw the picture of a key in the ancient book. He was stunned. He had seen this key when he was young. It was exactly the same in his childhood friend In Rue's house. He found In Rue and explained his intentions. In Rue was secretly in love with Yi Yingxue, so he agreed and gave the bronze plate to Di Qinming. He had the key, but how was he going to open it? With the 2 of them working together, they flipped through the ancient books in the Yin family's collection and found the method to open it. The method was very simple. It required a man and a woman with the Yin family bloodline to drip a drop of blood onto the bronze plate. Then, the gate to the magic cube world could be opened. After the 2 of them discussed it, they felt that it was feasible. In Xiaofei agreed when she heard that there was such a magical place that could save Yi Yingxue's life. In this way, the 4 of them used the key to open the door to the Rubik's Cube world. They didn't know that the ancient book was incomplete. In the incomplete part, there was only one sentence. Entering the Rubik's Cube is easy. Leaving the Rubik's Cube is difficult. However, given Di Chinming's personality, even if there was a tiny bit of hope, even if he saw this sentence, he would still choose to open it. He was even afraid that the Een siblings would not agree and would hide this matter. Therefore, it didn't matter whether he knew or not. In the end, Di Chinming and the rest spent all their Rubik's Cube coins but did not get the key. They didn't like the Rubik's Cube world that rotated every month. Moreover, the world here was synchronized with the outside world. They still had loved ones they cared about, so they couldn't stay here. It would be another 6 months before the next turn would take place. One day, Di Chinming found the original owner of the body. When she was unprepared, he took out a dagger from the lottery box and stabbed it into her heart. Then, he said, "Do you think it's fun to play with us ordinary people? You're the city lord of the city of trade, right? As long as I kill you, the exchange city will collapse and the magic cube world will disappear. Once this world disappears, all of us will naturally be able to leave." The original owner had never thought that the scheming Di Chinming would suddenly make a move on her. System, what kind of joke is this? He looked at Tanghua from head to toe and saw that she was wearing a moon-white cheongsam. She sat elegantly on a stool with a cup of tea in front of her and a wooden folding fan beside her. She looked really pretty and delicate. Her face didn't look like a particularly smart person. She was only super beautiful. Looking at this happiness city, there are people wearing all kinds of clothes, skin colors, and hair colors. The people in the Rubik's Cube world came from different worlds. Some came here on their own accord, and some came here unintentionally. Chapter 1546. No one knew how many keys there were to open the Rubik's Cube world. Moreover, each key could be opened in a different way. It might not be like the Een siblings who opened it with a drop of blood. Tanghua, do you have any ideas? While the Een siblings were having a heated discussion, Di Chinming noticed Tanghua, who was deep in thought with her head lowered. He looked at her with a pair of penetrating eyes. Tanghua looked up. What ideas? Ideas about this city. Do you think there's anything strange about this city? Di Chinming, who had just entered the Rubik's Cube world, didn't understand the rules here. The ancient book that recorded the Rubik's Cube world didn't record much. Other than the keys to open it, it only described that there were many things that couldn't be bought outside. Not long after they arrived at Happiness City, they met Tanghua. Tanghua said that she had just arrived and it wasn't safe for her to be alone. She needed to find a small team to accompany her. Seeing that she was alone, they agreed. After that, she paid for their accommodation for a few days and even treated them to a few meals. Just like that, they became true teammates. According to the original plan, the original owner would take care of their food and accommodation for the next few days. But now, they were dreaming. I can't see anything for the time being. Why don't we ask around after we eat? Tanghua said with an embarrassed smile. Di Chinming saw that she really didn't know much about this place. Looking at her clothes, she must be a pampered young miss who accidentally fell into this place. Maybe she was lucky to get some Rubik's Cube coins. It seemed like he had to think of a way himself. Ming, I found a problem. Not only are the people here smiling every day, they also don't seem to leave the city. The pale Ying Shue tugged at Di Chinming's sleeve. Ming, do you think there's a secret outside the city? Should we go and take a look? I was planning to leave the city, but I was stopped, Enrich said helplessly. The other party didn't say anything. They just smiled and pulled me back from the city gate. It was very strange. After that, I planned to sneak out when no one was looking. I didn't expect them to find me and throw me back here. Ming, why don't we sneak out tonight to take a look? Ying Shue suggested. Di Chinming didn't hesitate and quietly discussed with the others. They decided to go out tonight. Actually, they had just arrived yesterday afternoon and met the original owner not long after. Many of the people in the city were very strange. They had just arrived, so they didn't dare to ask too many questions for fear of danger. Why did he team up with Tanghua? It was because Tanghua looked the same as them. She didn't look like someone from this city. Instead, she looked like someone who had just come from outside. Of course not. There were other people with more normal expressions. However, these people all had vigilant looks on their faces and were unwilling to say anything to them. Every single one of them looked like they were not to be trifled with. Their bodies were emitting a cold aura, so they did not dare to casually ask anyone. SSS. S. S. Chapter 1547. People who had lived in this place for a long time lacked a sense of security. They felt that there was something wrong with everyone and that they could get themselves killed. As for bringing rookies along, that was even more impossible. They were already having a hard time keeping themselves alive. Tangwa looked at them quietly with a faint smile on her face. Enrich didn't know that the reason he was thrown out was because she had paid for the room at the inn. Before the room fee expired, everyone in the city would guarantee their lives. Once they did anything dangerous, they would stop them immediately. Why did they know so clearly? Of course, it was because they were locals of Happiness City. They were one with Happiness City, and they were aware of every movement in Happiness City. At this time, Di Qinming and the rest were discussing going out at night to take a look. However, the original owner suggested that they go to the city wall to take a look instead of going out directly to avoid any danger. Their guess was right. After a certain time at night, everyone in the city would be asleep and no one would notice anything. This was the rule of Happiness City. Actually, after a few days, everyone who came here would slowly understand the secret of Happiness City. This time, Tangwa did not stop them. She frowned and asked, "Do we have to go out at night? I noticed it last night. After a certain time, the entire city will be quiet. So, night is the best time." Yingxue said. Tangwa looked scared. "Then I won't go. I'm a little scared." Tangwa's scared look was not disgusting. Maybe it was because she was a beauty. The few of them felt that it was normal for a woman to be afraid of going out at night. "Then you wait in the inn," Yingxue said. "I'll accompany Ming to take a look." Tangwa quickly suggested, "Yingxue, you're not in good health. I don't think it's good to go with too many people. It's better to let Di Qinming go alone. He has some skills and can move quickly. He's just going to see if there's any danger. He'll come back once he's done. It's hard to move around with too many people." Yingxue thought about it. She felt that her body was not in good health. If anything happened, she might implicate Di Qinming. She nodded and said, "Okay, Ming, you go alone. Okay? If you can't, I'll go with you." Enrich wasn't afraid. He was very curious about the situation outside the city. Di Qinming said, "It's better if I go alone." Tangwa is right. It's much more convenient to act alone. Just like that, Di Qinming decided to go out of the city alone in the middle of the night to check out the situation. The corners of Tangwa's lips rose slightly. He was the male lead. No matter what difficulties he encountered, he definitely wouldn't die so easily. There was no need to worry. System, a black-hearted woman. That night, the entire Happiness City fell into silence. It was a world filled with opportunities and dangers. At the same time, it was very difficult to leave this world. Now that they heard that Tangwa was inside, they couldn't stay calm anymore. Especially the three sworn brothers of Tangwa. They were so anxious that they were trying to think of a way to help her get away. It was a pity that they weren't in the magic cube world. This place wasn't a place where one could enter as they wished. One needed a certain amount of lucky chances. Ziyun, what should I do? This is a little worrying. Qishao, yeah, I'm so worried. What should I do? My sister actually ended up in that damned place. Chapter 1549. Imo Yuntian, Misty, Silverhoop, if you meet a girl this time, you must take good care of her. It's so dangerous inside. Don't let her be in danger. If you need anything, just tell me. I'm now a giant in the immortal world. I can get anything I want. After Imo Yuntian finished speaking, Qi Shao and Ziyun quickly typed a long paragraph to express that it was like this. Anyway, the whole paragraph only had one meaning, which was to ask them to help take care of Tangwa. No matter what she wanted, as long as they could get it, they would give it to them. Misty Fairy, you're treating us as outsiders. Since the school belle has come to our place, we will definitely treat her well. All these years, We've eaten so many delicacies of the school belle because she has some very special things that have helped us a lot. Silverhoop and the other two agreed. Both of them felt that although the Rubik's Cube world wasn't a good place, since they came here because of an opportunity, there was no other way. However, it wasn't that easy to meet. In the Rubik's Cube world, you couldn't go to any world you wanted. It all depended on the rotation of the world. The next time you fell into a world, you would be in that world. However, there was a very special place in the Rubik's Cube world, which was more humane. Many people weren't willing to be separated. In the trading city, there was a kind of contract charm. People who signed a contract charm could fall into a world together. It meant that as long as they met, they would fall into the same world. However, just this meeting would make people worry until their hair turned white. Then where are you guys now? Tangwa asked. Silverhoop, Death City. Originally, Silverhoop and the other two were in different cities from Mist Fairy. Many years ago, the two of them met by chance. They used a contract charm, and from then on, they would fall into the same place every time they rotated. They were in the same group and were somewhat close. They could be considered as the only people who could be trusted in the Rubik's Cube world. We will definitely meet in the future, Tangwa said. In the plot of this world's male lead, Silverhoop and Mist Fairy were also on it. Of course, their ending didn't seem to be good. She didn't know if it was fate, but every time she appeared in the world of her friends in the group, her friends were all cannon fodder. I don't know if it's because we're all cannon fodder, but it's easier to talk when we're all cannon fodder. Tangwa and the system teased each other. From her words, the system could tell that its great host was quite happy. Moreover, it felt that Silverhoop and Mist Fairy finally had a chance to get out. Don't forget, the city lord of the City of Trade was his great host. Wouldn't it be easy for her to pull some strings behind the scenes? Rules were useless in front of the great host. Tangwa and the two of them agreed that after each world rotation, they would notify each other in the group and report their location. As long as they meet, they would be in the same city. They would be in the same city. Actually, she had a way, right? No. Li A.S. Now, she was the city lord of the Magic Cube World's trade city. The survival of this place was closely related to her. A.T.S. They S have. Chapter 1550. She didn't think that the Rubik's Cube world was evil. It could only be said that surviving here would make one more real. Evil and good could be portrayed vividly here and couldn't be concealed. Since there were so many benefits here, it wouldn't be easy to get out. This was the price to pay. After the conversation ended, Tangwa sent red packets of delicious food to her friends as usual. In every world, she had the habit of collecting good food. By the time she logged off, an hour had passed outside. Yingxue and the other two didn't sleep. They looked very worried as they stared outside the window. Tangwa yawned, leaned on the recliner, and continued to sleep. She wasn't worried about Di Chenming at all. He was the male lead and she didn't destroy his halo on purpose. So, he wouldn't die so quickly. System, Bridge Blackboard. You can provoke anyone, but you can't provoke such a black-hearted woman. When the sun rose, there was finally movement at the window. Tangwa opened her eyes and saw Yingxue hurriedly opening the window. Then, a bloody person fell in through the window. Yingxue was so frightened that she lost her voice. But she was still relatively calm. Ming, what happened to you? What happened? Di Chenming's injuries weren't light, but they weren't life-threatening. It was just that he was bleeding. Yingxue quickly turned on the water and helped him clean up. After a while, Di Chenming changed into a clean set of clothes and came out. His face was pale. Rue was frightened when he saw him like that. Is it so dangerous outside the city? Chenming, what happened to you last night? Di Chenming frowned. Thinking about what happened last night, he didn't feel good. Seeing the curious look on their faces, he deliberately observed Tangwa. Seeing that she was indeed a little scared and curious, he dispelled the doubts in his heart. Outside Happiness City, there are monsters and beasts. Di Chenming's eyes were also filled with fear. He could not describe the scene when he was surrounded by monsters just a few steps out of the city. There are too many of them to count. They bite anyone they see. The reason why I'm still alive is because although there are many of them and they bite people, their teeth are not sharp and their speed is relatively slow. I only managed to escape with my life after running for an entire night. Big brother Chen Ming, why didn't you just run into the city? In Xiaofei couldn't help but ask. Wouldn't you be saved if you turned around and ran back into the city? The others were also puzzled. Di Chunming took a deep breath and said, the moment I left the city, the entire city disappeared from my sight. I was surrounded by those monsters. When the sun rose, the city gate reappeared in my sight. Is it that strange? In Xiaofei was stunned. That means this place is getting stranger and stranger. Also, it's safer in the city. But we're here to look for medicine. There's clearly no medicine in this city, said Yin Rue. Why don't we ask the people below? Ying Shue suggested. Ming, I'll bring you some food. When it came to food, the four of them looked very uncomfortable. What the hell is this happiness city? The food here is really disgusting. After they finished eating, the waiter would come up and ask them if they were happy. That was why they were puzzled. Why were the people in this city smiling so happily? Tangwa followed them down to eat. Looking at the half-cooked food in front of her, it was no wonder that they weren't used to it. She wasn't used to it either. Host, just eat 2 mouthfuls. Eat slowly and enjoy the good food. He knew very well that his host's big mouth was super picky. After they finished eating, the waiter came up again. He first asked Di Chenming and the others, are you guys happy? Not at all, Yin Rue said hurriedly. Yin Xiaofei said, really not. She was in a lot of pain now. Ying Shue hesitated for a moment and said, happy? The waiter's smile widened. He actually took out 2 Rubik's Cube coins from his pocket. As long as you're happy. Then, he passed the Rubik's Cube coins to Ying Shue. Then, he looked at Di Chunming. The latter hurriedly said, happy? It's too fake. One look and I can tell that you're not happy. Chapter 1551. The waiter dropped a sentence and walked in front of Tangwa. He glanced at the food on Tangwa's plate and looked at Tangwa strangely. Tangwa said, I'm very happy. Under the shocked gazes of Di Chunming and the others, the waiter took out a bag of magic cube coins and placed it in front of her. I wish you happiness. Di Chunming stared at the food that Tangwa had only eaten 2 mouthfuls. It was strange. He had finished eating, but she had only eaten 2 mouthfuls. How did she get a bag of magic cube coins? As for him, he was actually despised by the waiter. The waiter turned to another table to serve other customers. Yin Rue hurriedly shouted, wait, waiter, come back. I'm very happy too. I'm so happy that I could die. So, quickly give him a bag of magic cube coins. Unexpectedly, the waiter turned around and smiled at him. Sir, are you trying to cheat me of my magic cube coins? Yin Rue said, yes, but why didn't you fall for it? The waiter ignored Yin Rue. Yin Xiaofei wanted to imitate Yin Rue and say that she was very happy. But seeing that her brother was exposed, she could only give up on that idea. Then, everyone's gaze landed on Tangwa's face. She had only eaten 2 mouthfuls of food and said that she was very happy. But the waiter took out a bag of magic cube coins and gave it to her. Wasn't that a little strange? After they returned to their room, Yin Rue couldn't help but ask Tangwa, why did the waiter give you a bag of magic cube coins? Maybe it's because I'm good-looking, Tangwa replied. Yin Rue sized up Tangwa. She was indeed good-looking, but the waiter shouldn't be infatuated with her. His sister was quite good-looking, and so was Ying Shue. As for him, he could be considered quite handsome as well. I also received 2 magic cube coins. I didn't expect that by answering happiness, I would be able to receive the currency here. Ying Shue spread out the 2 magic cube coins in her palm. Her intelligent eyes lit up. Could this be the way to earn magic cube coins? I think it's more than that. Why don't we go to the streets today and find out more information about Happiness City? In order to survive here, Rubik's Cube coins must be indispensable. The female lead was indeed the female lead. She was quite smart. Yes, Tangwa responded. In this group of people, except for Di Chunming, the others did not have any enmity with the original owner. After Di Chunming killed the original owner of the body, when the magic cube world collapsed, Ying Shue, and the others didn't see the original owner of the body. They even tried to think of all sorts of ways to find her whereabouts. Di Chenming was afraid that Ying Xue and the Yin siblings would be estranged from him, so he kept this matter a secret. Because he knew that if he said that he killed the original owner, even if it was to get out, even if Ying Xue knew that the original owner was the city lord of the City of Exchange, she would not forgive him. Ying Xue was indeed a real female lead. She was intelligent, kind, and had her own principles. Needless to say, Yin Rue and Yin Xiaofei weren't bad people. Therefore, in this world, there were only two people she needed to take revenge on. The first was Di Chenming. The second was the soul in the dagger. Host, if you want to kill Di Chenming, you will still have to become enemies with these three people. Anyway, they can't defeat me. After I kill Di Chenming, I'll just throw them out. Moreover, the magic cube world is full of changes. Without my help, will Di Chenming remain the same? Chapter 1552. System. Alright, he's worrying too much. Although the host didn't have any enmity with Ying Xue and the other two, she didn't care about them. If she said that she wanted to mess with Di Chenming, she would do it. It was useless for anyone to hate her. After discussing, the few of them prepared to go downstairs and explore the streets to observe the situation in Happiness City. Di Chenming, Ying Xue, and Yin Rue formed a team while Tanghua and Yin Xiaofei formed a pair. Yin Xiaofei wanted to ask Tanghua where they were going to observe the situation, but Tanghua had already started walking. She hurriedly followed him and soon arrived at a jewelry store. Tanghua was looking at the jewelry excitedly. She couldn't help but remind her. We are here to observe the situation in Happiness City, Yin Xiaofei said softly, afraid that she would attract the attention of the surrounding people. The people who entered the jewelry store weren't just locals of Happiness City. Most of them came from different worlds. These people didn't seem easy to get close to. Yin Xiaofei's uneasy look was seen by many people. Then, they didn't think that Yin Xiaofei was a dangerous person and didn't look at her. Buying things can also be considered as observing everything in Happiness City. Tanghua took out a big bag of magic cube coins and bought a lot of jewelry. She even hung a necklace around Yin Xiaofei's neck. Yin Xiaofei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She didn't expect the shop assistant to walk in front of her with a smile and ask, "Are you happy?" Again? With the previous experience, Yin Xiaofei was instantly energized. She nodded her head like a chick pecking rice. Yes, I'm really happy. As long as you're happy." Then, the shop assistant actually gave Yin Xiaofei 2 magic cube coins. Holding the 2 magic cube coins, Yin Xiaofei still couldn't believe it. So if she said she was happy, she would get magic cube coins? Wasn't it too easy to get money? But thinking about how Tanghua spent a big bag of magic cube coins to buy these jewelry, it wasn't worth it. Tanghua put a brooch on herself. As expected, the shop assistant smiled and asked her if she was happy. Yin Xiaofei was instantly energized. She got a big bag of magic cube coins last time. She wouldn't get it this time, right? She must have been lucky the last time. That waiter was stupid. She believed that no one would have such good luck. However, when Tanghua said that she was happy, the shop assistant took out a big bag of magic cube coins and gave them to Tanghua. Yin Xiaofei was totally shocked. Tanghua was carrying a bag of magic cube coins. She felt particularly inconvenient, so she asked the shop assistant, "Is there anything that can help me carry these magic cube coins? We sell magic cube space bags and magic cube space rings here. They all have a certain amount of space inside and can be used to store these items," the shop assistant replied with a smile. Yin Xiaofei finally came back to her senses. It turned out that buying things could really give her a lot of information and a lot of money. What should she do? She suddenly liked this world. It was too blissful. No wonder it was called Blissful City. Wait, why did she only get 2 Rubik's Cube coins, but Tanghua got a big bag of coins? Tanghua was already choosing a Rubik's Cube space ring. She touched a diamond-studded ring and asked, "How many Rubik's Cube coins is this?" 1,000. Tanghua handed the bag of magic cube coins she just got to the shop assistant because there were exactly 1,000 of them in a bag. "Then I'll buy one." Yin Xiaofei, is this how people describe spending money like water? Chapter 1553. Tangwa had only been here for a short period of time. So this was what she meant when she said that she had accidentally gotten a lot of Rubik's Cube coins? In Xiaofei also realized that the shop assistant would only ask the person if they were happy once a day. So, although it was easy to earn Rubik's Cube coins by answering that they were happy, it wasn't that easy to earn more. And not every time one could get Rubik's Cube coins. Just now, she saw a few people who reluctantly said that they were happy, but the shop assistant still smiled and said, "You're too perfunctory. You're not happy at all." Or they would say, "You're so fake. You actually want to cheat me of my Rubik's Cube coins." Following Tangui out, In Xiaofei glanced at the beautiful gemstone ring on Tangua's finger. "Tangua, you're really willing to spend 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins. I think it's easier to get Rubik's Cube coins here. This thing can be used. It can be used to store the jewelry I bought. Later, I'll earn some more and buy 2 more dresses." In Xiaofei looked at Tangua's beautiful cheongsam and the wooden fan in her hand. A beauty indeed loved beauty. A beauty even had preferential treatment. "I don't understand why you can get such a big bag of Rubik's Cube coins every time. 8,000 Rubik's Cube coins. It's really because I'm beautiful." System. Host is fooling children again. But In Xiaofei believed it. Yes, Tangua was really beautiful. She didn't believe it before, but after 2 more times, she believed it. About 2 hours later, Tangua met up with Di Chunming and the others. They met at the food court of Happiness City. At the entrance of the food court, there were a few big words written on a banner. "Want to get rich in one day? Come and eat. You can get Rubik's Cube coins by eating?" In Xiaofei was a little excited. Tangua walked in and saw Di Chunming and the others. In front of Di Chunming, there were a few big bowls. There were a few empty bowls beside them. It was obvious that they had eaten. Beside each of them stood a person who looked like a waiter. They were all locals of Happiness City. To differentiate between locals and foreigners, one only needed to look at whether they were smiling all the time. Di Chunming was eating. When Tangua walked in front of him, he had already finished the food in his bowl. Then the waiter next to him asked, "Is it good?" "It's very delicious," Di Chunming said without thinking. Then, the waiter handed him 10 Rubik's Cube coins, which Di Chunming accepted expressionlessly. Ying Xue wiped his sweat. "Ah Ming, can you still eat? Do you want to take a break?" "It's all right. I can finish the remaining 3 bowls." Di Chunming looked willing. Why was he so keen on earning Rubik's Cube coins? It was because the 3 of them heard that if they wanted to stay in Happiness City, they would need to find a place to stay. No matter what, as long as they found a place to stay, they would be safe for the time being. Otherwise, they would be chased out of the city when it got dark. Last night, he had been chased and bitten by beasts for most of the night. He really didn't want this to happen again. He also knew that answering happiness would give him a Rubik's Cube coin. But he had to spend the Rubik's Cube coin before anyone would ask him if he was happy. Later on, he came to this place by accident. He wanted to earn some Rubik's Cube coins first so that he could at least stay in the city. He couldn't pin his hopes on a woman like Tangua. After all, they had only known each other for a day or 2. Who knew if she had any ulterior motives? He was used to having his life in his hands. Chapter 1554. In Rue was eating too. It was obvious from his expression that the food tasted awful. In Xiaofei sat beside In Rue and asked in a low voice, "Brother, is it good?" "It's good." In Rue didn't dare to say it wasn't good. There was a waiter looking at him. In Xiaofei reacted too. "Then I'll have a bowl too." Eating a bowl would earn her 10 Rubik's Cube coins. It was more profitable than answering happiness. Tangua didn't ask for food. She chose an empty seat and sat down, watching them eat and earn Rubik's Cube coins. In Xiaofei had just taken a bite when she spat it out. "Oh my God, it's so awful. How can you say it's good? Brother, am I your sister?" Before In Rue could answer, the waiter took In Xiaofei's bowl away and said to her with a smile, "You're stripped of your right to eat in the food court and earn Rubik's Cube coins." In Xiaofei was speechless. In Rue couldn't help but laugh. He ate the food in his bowl happily, looking like he was enjoying himself. In Xiaofei sat down beside Tangua, feeling bored. "You can do this? Luckily, I'm pretty. I don't have to work so hard to earn money. Tangwa waved the wooden fan in her hand and smiled happily. In Xiaofei touched her face. It was amazing to be pretty. She could get 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins just by answering happiness. Mississippi just then. A white-haired old woman with a walking stick came to In Xiaofei with a smile. The food tastes awful, doesn't it? It does, In Xiaofei said. The old woman took out a fragrant bun from her basket. In Xiaofei hadn't eaten anything delicious for 2 days. Her eyes lit up. Granny, are you selling buns? No. The old woman handed the bun to In Xiaofei. Try it. Is it good? In Xiaofei hesitated. How could she eat something from a stranger? What if there was something wrong with it? But she looked around. No matter how bad this person was, she wouldn't dare to poison her to death in front of so many people, right? Honestly, the buns looked too delicious. Then I'll help myself. In Xiaofei couldn't stand the gluttony in her stomach. She took the bun and swallowed it in 2 bites. It was really delicious. Seeing this, Tangwa did not stop him. When she came to this world, she had said that she would not interfere in any of their affairs. Whether it was good or bad, it had nothing to do with her. Moreover, she was acting as a rookie. If she was too smart, it would arouse suspicion. As an adult, one should understand that no matter how good a gift from a stranger was, it was best not to accept it, especially if it was placed in the stomach. In Xiaofei just couldn't resist the temptation and swallowed it. Who could she blame? Granny, are you really not selling buns? It's really delicious. I'll buy some for you. I want to share them with my companions. In Xiaofei touched her 2 Rubik's Cube coins and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. How much is one? I have 4 companions, so I want 4 buns. Miss, since you like my buns so much, why don't you stay and become a citizen of Happiness City? You'll be able to eat such delicacies every day, the old lady said with a loving smile. In Xiaofei quickly shook her head. Although Happiness City is pretty good, I don't want to stay here. She was not from here. She came in to look for medicine and would leave in the future. That's too inhumane. In Xiaofei couldn't help but say. Tangwa continued. This is the rule of Happiness City. You can stay in the city for 1 night with 20 Rubik's Cube coins. It's very simple. You should think about why they can't get it even with 20 Rubik's Cube coins. But if we chase them out and get chased by so many monsters, we'll die, In Xiaofei said. If they agree to stay in Happiness City forever, they won't die, Tangwa said with a smile. Chapter 1556. In Xiaofei said, but they didn't want to, right? Happiness City didn't kill them. They were the ones who didn't want to. Didn't they choose to end up like this? Does Happiness City owe them anything? In Xiaofei didn't know what to say. Of course, they didn't owe them anything. She just felt that they weren't very humane. Most of them came here willingly. Are you guys the same? Tangwa asked. Ying Xue nodded. Yes, we came here willingly. You're right. Since we're in someone else's place, we have to follow the rules. Also, they gave us a chance to get Rubik's Cube coins. Even if we don't get Rubik's Cube coins, we won't lose our lives. We'll just lose our freedom. That's true. It's not a good thing to always take advantage of others. Tangwa looked at Ying Xue and asked, Why did you come here? I'm suffering from a terminal illness. Ming found the Rubik's Cube world in an ancient book. It said that there's a cure for terminal illnesses and a way to extend one's life. I didn't expect the Rubik's Cube world to be so complicated, Di Chenming continued. We don't know where we'll be next month, so I plan to get as many Rubik's Cube coins as I can in case of emergencies. What about you, Tangwa? Why did you come here? In Xiaofei asked. Tangwa said, I'm curious. Wasn't she curious? The original owner of the body lost her life because of her curiosity and destroyed the entire Rubik's Cube world. Once the Rubik's Cube world was destroyed, the people who signed a contract with the Rubik's Cube world would be destroyed as well. With her around, the Rubik's Cube world could only survive. It couldn't be destroyed. They didn't say anything else and went back to their rooms to rest. When the sky was about to brighten, they went downstairs to look at the city gate. When the city gate opened, Tangwa saw many people in ragged clothes running out. There were big and small wounds on their bodies. Someone shouted, "I choose to stay. I want to stay and become a citizen of Happiness City." There were also people who didn't want to stay and went into the city to get Rubik's Cube coins. There were about 1,000 people who went out yesterday. Tangwa counted those who came back. There were about 800 people who came back. Therefore, 200 people lost their lives in one night. After that, those who agreed to stay in Happiness City did not change their minds even after repeated questioning. At that moment, it was as if a spell had landed on them. He healed their injuries and changed their clothes into clean ones. At the same time, their faces that were filled with pain and fear were no different from the locals of Happiness City. Other than the smiles on their faces, nothing else could be found. He had clearly saved his life, and he didn't have to worry about losing his life in the future. He could even live forever. However, the onlookers felt chills run down their spines when they saw this scene. Yin Xiaofei shuddered. She thought to herself that it was fortunate that she hadn't agreed to stay. Otherwise, she would have to keep this smile on her face every day. It would be too scary. It's time for dinner again. Under the jealous gaze of Yin Xiaofei and the others, Tangwa answers that she is happy and the waiter still gives her 1,000 magic cube coins. She's beautiful. Before anyone could ask anything, Tangwa looked up and said, "This waiter has good taste and gentlemanly demeanor. He knows that beautiful women need to be taken care of." In Xiaofei, she believed it. Ying Xue didn't know whether to believe it or not, but from her observation, only Tangwa had such preferential treatment. Chapter 1557. After eating breakfast, Tangwa and the others approached the location of the happiness tree. When they reached the happiness tree, they saw a sea of people. Countless people were sitting around a huge ancient tree. The trunk of the ancient tree needed 10 people to encircle it. There were many branches on top of the trunk, and on the branches were dense leaves. The leaves were connected and stacked on top of each other. When the sun rose, the dark green leaves shone brightly. When they got closer, other than Tangwa, Ying Xue and the rest were stunned. It turned out that the people sitting around the happiness tree were mumbling something. When they were far away, they only felt that it was noisy. When they got closer, they suddenly heard someone beside them looking up at the happiness tree and saying softly, "I'm so happy. I'm really so happy. I'm happy every day. Tree, tree, believe me. I'm really happy. Tree, tree, I'm the happiest person." Yin Xiaofei held her breath and said in a low voice, "Are they crazy?" Ying Xue's eyes were sharp. She noticed that there was a basket in front of these people. Tangwa indifferently stood to the side, found an empty place, took out a cushion, and sat cross-legged on it. Ying Xue and the rest were puzzled. What was she doing? Then they heard her say, "I'm the happiest person." When Tangwa said this, her face was brimming with a smile, which made people stare blankly. Bits of sunlight fell on her body. The smile on her face made people feel that she was very happy. They didn't know if it was an illusion, but they all believed that she was the happiest person. The system could feel that his energy was increasing rapidly. It wondered which world the host was reminiscing about to make him feel so happy. This increase in energy made him afraid. Di Chenming didn't understand either. When he saw Tangwa take out a basket and put it in front of them, he was even more confused. Ying Xue remembered that Tangwa could get 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins just by saying that she was happy. She hesitated for a moment and said, "Why don't we give it a try? No matter what the outcome is, it shouldn't be anything bad." In the past few days, they had also felt that as long as they could stay in Happiness City, their lives would not be in danger. It seemed like fighting was also prohibited in Happiness City. Previously, they even saw someone getting into a fight and being punished by the people of Happiness City, not being allowed to stay in the city for a night. With such a punishment, Happiness City was indeed Happiness City. As long as they had Rubik's Cube coins, they would be safe for the next month. Therefore, Ying Xue believed that if she did what those people in Tangwa did, she wouldn't lose anything even if she didn't gain anything in the end. "Then I'll go find a few baskets." Zhai Chenming agreed to this. Not long after, he brought a few baskets over. Chapter 1558. If she wanted to kill someone, no one could stop her. Now, they were only at the first city. They still had to go through 4 more before they could reach the best trading city, which was where she lived. It went without saying how dangerous it was in the middle. What would happen in the future would depend on their fate. She wouldn't do anything to people who had no grudges with her just because they might become an obstacle in the future. From the beginning to the end, Tangwa only told the blissful tree that she was very happy once. She wasn't like the others, who kept saying that they were very happy. In Xiaofei felt that there must be some benefits, so she kept saying that she was very happy. She even recalled the happy days in the past. In Rue lost 100 Rubik's Cube coins yesterday and his heart ached. Just like in Xiaofei, he kept recalling the happy days in the past. As the two of them reminisced about the past, the happiness in their mouths was really dry and became sincere. Ying Xue was also smiling. She was recalling the days when Di Qianming was by her side ever since she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Even when the top medical experts in the country and abroad said that she didn't have long to live, Di Qianming didn't give up on her. He was busy reading books every day. She felt that she was very happy. So when she said that she was happy, she was also very sincere. But Di Qianming was different. He said that he was happy, but in fact, he was thinking about everything that had happened since he came to Blissful City. He was a scheming person who was used to having everything in the palm of his hand. In his memories, he wouldn't recall the happiness of the past. In his eyes, there was only his goal and what he wanted to achieve in the future. To put it simply, Di Qianming was more realistic and rational. He didn't like to reveal his feelings. Tangwa saw that when Di Qianming said that he was happy, his eyes showed that he was deep in thought. She laughed out loud unkindly. Not long after, the people sitting around the blissful tree felt that the blissful tree was emitting a strong white light, causing them to be temporarily blind. When the white light disappeared, their eyes returned to normal. Many people didn't look at the blissful tree, but at the basket in front of them. Ying Xue felt something and also lowered her head to look at the basket in front of her. 2 bright red fruits the size of half a fist were lying in the basket. They were moist and looked especially pleasing. In Rue and in Xiaofei also had 2 bright red fruits in their baskets, just like Ying Xue. What fruit is this? In Xiaofei swallowed her saliva. She had finally managed to eat a delicious bun yesterday, but it had cost her 100 Rubik's Cube coins. She was almost scolded to death by her brother. If this fruit could be eaten, it would be great. Di Qianming glanced at the 2 fruits in Ying Xue's basket and then looked at his own basket. There was a dead leaf lying there. His expression was indescribable. Ha 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 ha, big brother Qianming. Why are there only leaves in your basket? And they're all withered and yellow. So, what exactly did you do to make the blissful tree dislike you? Di Qianming was a little confused. He did not do anything. Like the others, he said that he was very happy. He really couldn't understand why the others were fruits while he was only a leaf, and it was even withered and yellow. Holy shit. It can't be. In Rue suddenly remembered that Tangwa had always been treated well, so he quickly turned around to look at the basket in front of her. Chapter 1559. When he saw the basket full of fruits, he couldn't help but swear. In Rue's voice attracted the attention of the others. The first to scream was In Xiaofei. Why are there so many? Does the tree also know who is prettier? In Xiaofei wished she could turn into a lump of mud. Even if she was ugly, she could be molded again. Ying Xue couldn't take it anymore. Tangwa, how did you do it? I'm pretty, right? Tangwa touched the red fruits in the basket. Other than being pretty, I really can't think of a reason why the happiness tree would give me so many fruits. Di Qianming couldn't help but admit defeat. He had always suspected that Tangwa wasn't simple, but the happiness tree was a magical thing. It shouldn't be something she could control. Perhaps she was one of the luckier ones. Then, he saw that some people didn't have any fruits in their baskets. Instead, they had 2 leaves or flowers. He felt better. Although he was the only one who had a withered leaf, at least not everyone could get a fruit. In Xiaofei still didn't eat anything carelessly. She was afraid that she would die. Everything here was strange. If she caused any more trouble, even Buddha wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Not long after, the few of them found out the use of the red fruits. He also understood why so many people had gathered around the Tree of Happiness. Non-locals of Happiness City had a chance to express their happiness to the Happiness Tree every day. It was also a way to pray. When the Happiness Tree accepted their prayers, it would give them the red fruits according to their level of happiness. The fruit was called the happiness fruit. Non-locals of Happiness City couldn't eat it. Once they ate the happiness fruit, they would automatically become a resident of Happiness City. They would never be able to leave Happiness City. Hearing this explanation, In Xiaofei was so shocked that she broke out in cold sweat. Tangwa saw that the few of them were so happy. She was especially happy. Without her reminders, the few of them could finally embark on their adventure in the Rubik's Cube world. If she had reminded them, their lives wouldn't be so exciting. They should thank me. This is like watching a drama. It's boring if there are spoilers. If I didn't remind them, they would think that this experience was the most exciting in their lives. Oh, really? Why did he feel that it was a bad taste? What was the use of the happiness fruit? It was very useful and could be exchanged for magic cube coins. Among the locals of Happiness City, the happiness fruit was in short supply. Now, several people surrounded Tangua with happy smiles on their faces. They had noticed her when the fruit of happiness had filled her basket. There were 3 people surrounding Tangua. Tangua realized that with these 3 people around, the others wouldn't dare to come up even if they wanted to. Miss, the happiness fruit is useless to outsiders like you. Why don't you sell it to us? Okay. Tangua had no intention of staying. The smiles on the 3 men's faces deepened. When they heard Tangua say that she would split it into 3 and sell it to the 3 of them, they had no objections at all. The price of a fruit of happiness was 500 Rubik's Cube coins. For people who had just arrived here, this was a huge sum of money. Yin Xiaofei felt like she was dreaming when she received 1,000 Rubik coins. Ying Xue also breathed a sigh of relief. With the magic cube coins, at least she didn't have to worry about being chased out of the city. The most unhappy person was probably Di Chunming. Chapter 1560. He thought that the withered leaves were useless. He did not expect that a withered leaf could be exchanged for a Rubik's Cube coin. This result was more embarrassing than the fact that it was useful. I heard from those people that the leaves, fruits, and flowers of the happiness tree will not fall. No matter if it is a local or an outsider, they are not allowed to pick them. Otherwise, they will be banished from the city and lose the right to enter the happiness city forever. Tangua said. Yin Xiaofei's gaze landed on the Rubik's Cube space ring on Tangua's hand. She could not help but swallow her saliva. She saw a huge pile of Rubik's Cube coins being kept by Tangua just now. If only I was a peerless beauty. Yin Xiaofei said this in her heart. She did not expect to say it out loud. Seeing them looking at her, she blushed. Don't laugh. I know I am dreaming. Can't you let me dream? Di Chunming said that he wanted to go to the city to find out more information, especially about the date of the world's rotation and what to pay attention to. Tangua said, Then I won't go with you. I just made a fortune. I want to go to the shop to buy some pretty dresses. Okay, go ahead. Di Chunming also believed it. Maybe the people and trees in this city were all dogs for looks. When there was no conflict with Di Chunming, he was at most a cold person. He did not like to get close to others and would not easily open his heart to others. Speaking of which, he was indeed a male lead. Let's wait for Di Chunming to pull out a dagger and stab me. After Di Chunming and the others left, Tangua was all smiles. She held the wooden fan and walked in the direction of the shop while communicating with the system. She wanted to see what Di Chunming's choice would be this time. Would it be the same choice as before? No matter what, she had already decided not to reveal the secret of this world to Di Chunming. She would take care of them along the way. She had to take the risk herself. That was more exciting, wasn't it? System. As long as the host is happy. Even if the host wants to slit Di Chunming's throat, he would not object. Tangua chose a variety of pretty dresses in the shop. In the end, she borrowed the fitting room in the shop and changed out of her cheongsam into a black tulle tutu skirt. She didn't change the wooden fan in her hand. It wasn't just a decoration, it was also her weapon. Furthermore, the wooden fan and the black tutu skirt looked quite nice. Tangwa walked out of the shop in high heels and a black tutu skirt. Just as she was about to turn the corner, she was blocked by a figure. She gently raised her chin, her beautiful eyes moving around the person's face for a moment. The corner of her lips curved slightly as she said, "Handsome, you're blocking my way. I'm looking for you." System. Are all the men in the Rubik's Cube world so direct? He was not tactful at all. What if he scared the beautiful girl away? Why are you looking for me? Let's talk somewhere else. Before Tangwa could react, everything around her changed, and she found herself in a room. She found a place to sit down and poured herself a cup of tea. Instead of staying in your own place, you came looking for me. You're really free. Then tell me, why are you looking for me? The man walked to her side and sat down as well. He was dressed in an ancient style and even had his hair tied up. He looked like an ancient person. His eyes landed on Tangwa's face. Frowning slightly, he said, "Actually, I don't know either. I felt that you were here, so I came." Chapter 1561. Aren't you very busy there? You're busy catching criminals every day. Tangwa asked. She clearly knew why the other party was here, but she still deliberately asked. She really didn't expect that the other party's status in this world was similar to hers. They were quite compatible. She just didn't know how he was doing. That's a small matter. You don't need me. Just operate on your own. Gongwei's gaze still didn't move away from Tangwa's face. 2 days ago, he suddenly woke up with a start. He didn't know what was in his mind. Subconsciously, he headed towards the city of trade. He was also very puzzled. Why did he go to the trade city to find that woman? When he reached the trade city, he found out that she had gone out. In the end, he used the special connection between the city lords and the Rubik's Cube world to find her location. He didn't expect to bump into her buying a dress as soon as he came. He almost directly appeared in her fitting room. Fortunately, he felt that something was wrong and hurriedly turned a corner and appeared outside the shop, waiting for her to come out. "Now that you've seen me, Gongwei, what do you plan to do?" Tangwa asked with a smile. "System. It's confirmed. It's that guy." She didn't know if it was because of the failure of the appearance in the previous world, causing the host and the other party to be good friends for life. After that guy woke up, what kind of restriction did he put on her? Seeing how he was in such a hurry, she reckoned that when he came to this world, he would definitely look for her restriction. "I don't know for now. I've been feeling strange recently." Gongwei said honestly, "Why don't I follow you for a while?" System. Ha ha ha. You want to follow me? Yes, follow you. Tangwa casually waved her hand and a full-length mirror appeared beside her. The two figures were clearly reflected in the mirror. She pointed, "Look." Gongwei looked at the mirror and didn't understand what she wanted him to see. "Look, you're wearing a long robe. You even tied up your hair and have a sword. You look like an old antique." Then, she pointed at herself and gently raised her chin. Her slender hand waved the wooden fan and smiled faintly at the mirror. "I'm so fashionable and good-looking. I don't want an old antique by my side." Gongwei looked at the two people in the mirror. The other party was wearing a mysterious black gauze dress, beautiful long curly hair, beautiful earrings, and an exquisite necklace around her neck. Then, he looked at himself. It seemed that walking together was a little disharmonious. He thought for a moment and snapped his fingers. The image in the mirror instantly changed. "What do you think?" Tangwa turned around and couldn't help but laugh out loud. "You're wearing a suit and leather shoes. Your shoes are shiny and your hair is combed neatly." All right, that's enough. Then I'll follow you from now on." Gongwei confirmed it again. He had to figure out why he was suddenly in a trance a few days ago. He couldn't control himself and frantically searched for this woman in the magic cube world. Was there something wrong with him, or was there something wrong with her? She had to figure it out. He vaguely felt that it should be his problem. She didn't look like there was anything wrong with her, except that she was too beautiful. "You can follow me, but you're not allowed to meddle in my affairs. Listen to me along the way." Gongwei nodded. "Sure. All right, let's go. I'll take you to see my teammates." The two of them walked on the street. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. Walking together, They were indeed very attractive. Chapter 1562. The rate of turning heads was really 100%. Gongwei was still a little uncomfortable at first. Later, he saw that her expression was normal and got used to it. After a while, Tanghua actually held his hand. He lowered his head and stared at her hand. Just as he was about to ask why she was holding his hand, his mind suddenly quivered, and he was so scared that he quickly swallowed his words. He felt that if he asked that question, there would be some bad consequences. "You're a man, my lady. As a gentleman, it's normal for me to hold your hand when I see a lady wearing high heels and a small skirt." Tanghua explained, "If my skirt is too long as a gentleman, you have to help me hold the skirt." Gongwei, is that so? Why did she say it so matter-of-factly? He actually felt that it was natural too. It was really strange. When they were going up the stairs, Gongwei looked at her pointy high heels and said subconsciously, "Be careful." After saying that, his expression froze. His brain seemed to be unable to control his tongue. Tanghua looked up and smiled at him. "Hold my hand. Even if I miss a step, I won't fall down." Was that so? But why didn't his hands listen to him? They were really carefully protecting her. What the hell? How could this woman fall just like that? She could smash a house into mud with a slap. How could she be injured? What was worse was that he was actually afraid that she would fall. System. Host, you'll break your cutie like this. Tongzi, do you think he's unwilling at all? No. Although he was a little confused, those body movements were all subconscious. I'm giving him a chance. If I don't want to bother with this person, I'll turn around and leave. The system recalled the previous world. Although the two of them were together for life, Yun Bushio really suffered a lot in the past. If not for his high awareness, wouldn't the host have turned around and left coldly without giving him any chance to get close? Gongwei's appearance made Ying Xue and the rest curious and surprised. Because Gongwei was really too handsome, Di Chenming had to admit that in terms of appearance, he could not compare to Gongwei. They all asked who Gongwei was. Tanghua was still holding onto Gongwei's arm. I picked him up on the way. I saw that he was unfamiliar with the place and was quite good-looking, so I brought him back. It would be a pity if he was swallowed by the wild beasts outside the city. We are a couple. We are already engaged. This time, Gongwei did not nod in agreement with Tanghua. He suddenly had an epiphany and said this. After saying that, his mind was filled with question marks. However, in his heart, he felt that this was the most appropriate way to put it. But he was a little worried, so he glanced at Tanghua carefully. Seeing that she was a little surprised but had no intention of refuting him, he felt slightly relieved and continued, "We got separated earlier." Chapter 1563. The room Tanghua booked at the inn was not big. After all, the original intention of the original owner was to get close to ordinary people like Di Chenming and see if their relationship could withstand the test of the Rubik's Cube world. If she booked a luxurious room, it would be easy to arouse suspicion at first. Therefore, the bed in this room was also small and delicate. Although it was not a problem for two people to lie down, it would be very crowded. I said that because I thought it would not be easy to arouse suspicion. Gongwei remedied after glancing at the small room. Tanghua turned back. There's no need to explain. You said it. So you'll be responsible. Responsible? Gongwei tasted these two words and looked at the woman in front of him. If she had to be responsible, it was not impossible. He did not reject it in his heart. He vaguely felt that he had indeed made a mistake when he said the relationship between the two of them just now. Okay, Gongwei replied, looking as if he was willing to be dealt with by the system. The system, who was watching silently, was overjoyed. This guy must have misunderstood something. Tanghua nodded. Since you agreed, then this bed is mine. Tanghua pointed to the small bed behind her. Under Gongwei's somewhat puzzled gaze, she waved her hand. Other than this bed, you can sleep anywhere you want at night. Only the bed is not allowed. Tanghua met Gongwei's eyes and emphasized again. Gongwei also understood that he seemed to have misunderstood something. It turned out that the responsibility he wanted was different from the responsibility she wanted. Fortunately, he had prepared himself in his heart, but he did not expect things to be different from what he thought. The strange thing was, why was he still a little disappointed? Then I'll sleep on the floor. Tangua went to the bathroom with a smile. Gongwei stood in the room, feeling a little uncomfortable, especially when he heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom. He did not understand. The woman inside was obviously not an ordinary person, but she actually wanted to mix with this group of outsiders. Not only did she want to sleep, but she also wanted to take a bath. For these, wasn't it just a wave of the hand and use a little magic power to solve it? When Tangua came out in a dry nightgown, Gongwei glanced at her and quickly looked away. He had seen her before. She was beautiful, but he had not found her attractive. It was strange today. When he saw her, he could not take his eyes off her. Now that the two of them were in the same room, he was still a little nervous. Tangua had already laid down. She glanced sideways at Gongwei, who didn't know what to do. Aren't you going to wash up before sleeping? No need. Gongwei waved his hand and cast some magic. A blanket and a pillow appeared on the ground. He glanced at the pajamas that Tangua was wearing and snapped his fingers. Instantly, the clothes he was wearing turned into a set of pajamas, which actually matched the ones that Tangua was wearing. Then, he lay down. Coincidentally, the position he chose happened to be next to the bed. Tangua could see Gongwei lying on his back while lying on her side. You're curious why I'm with those ordinary people? Gongwei turned his head and looked at her. Why? Because I deduced that one of them will bring danger to our magic cube world. If this isn't handled properly, then the entire magic cube world might be destroyed. Is that so? Gongwei became serious. This was indeed a very serious matter. Then why don't you arrest them all? Otherwise, when they reach Sin City, I'll get someone to arrest them and shoot them all. Chapter 1564. They are all ordinary people. They shouldn't be able to walk out of Sin City alive, Gongwei continued. System. Ha ha ha, so straightforward. You said it yourself. They are all ordinary people. Killing them is meaningless. The person who wants to destroy the Rubik's Cube world isn't these ordinary people. It's the person hiding behind them. My guess is that the other party will choose ordinary people to destroy it. If we kill them, someone else will appear. Moreover, every city has its own rules. Whether or not the outsiders could leave depended on their intelligence and luck. Breaking the rules will easily cause chaos in the city. It's not worth it. What do you mean? Gongwei also realized that it was indeed not worth it to kill a few ordinary people who didn't do anything wrong and suffer the backlash of the Rubik's Cube rules. Luring the snake out of its hole. The person who can threaten the existence of the Rubik's Cube world has always been hiding behind. What I want to do is wait for the other party to appear. Now, let's pretend that we don't know anything. Gongwei felt that it made sense. Moreover, he had to find out what was wrong with this woman. He was always thinking about strange things. Tangua closed her eyes and fell asleep. Gongwei didn't want to sleep. He opened his eyes and stared at her for the whole night. The more he looked, the more he wanted to look. The more he looked, the more he couldn't look away. He suspected that this woman had found some secret technique from an outsider to cultivate. That was why she was so strange. With Gongwei's addition, the original 5-man team became a 6-man team. Gongwei's appearance made Di Chenming suspicious. But a few days later, he saw Gongwei following Tangua wherever she went. He even looked like he only listened to her. He didn't suspect anything at all. Yin Xiaofei couldn't help but whisper, "He's simply a loyal dog. She's beautiful." Yin Rui continued, "Xiaofei, I'm not teasing you. You're not bad-looking, but compared to Tangua, you're really a little bit worse." Yin Xiaofei really wanted to beat Yin Rui to death, but what he said made sense. Every day, apart from asking about the Rubik's Cube world, they would go to the happiness tree to pray and say that they were happy. Every time, Tangua would get a basket full of happiness fruits. It really made the people around her jealous. Di Chunming was also very jealous. He had prayed for blessings for a few days, but he had not received a single fruit of happiness. All he had received were tree leaves. A dead leaf cost 1 magic cube coin, and a green leaf cost 10 magic cube coins. It was simply infuriating. As for the others, they had obtained less than 5 fruits of happiness. In short, Tangua was an anomaly. Forget about Tangua. What was more infuriating was that a palace guard had come. They only heard him say, "Happiness." After that, the happiness tree also gave him a basket of happiness fruits. Seeing this, Di Chenming was unhappy. Gong Wei's tone was clearly not as sincere as his. The tree of happiness was really a dog tree. There are still 5 more days before we'll be transferred to the next city, Ying Xue said worriedly, but I just heard that the Rubik's Cube world can teleport at will. We might be teleported to different cities. Originally, they were just ordinary people, so Happiness City was not considered dangerous. But from the news he had heard recently, in the Rubik's Cube world, only Happiness City was safe. Seeing that many people were secretive about the other cities, they knew that the situation was not good. Chapter 1565. Of course, Tangua would not be separated from them. She took out a few contract charms at the right time. There were exactly 6 of them. Di Chenming and Ying Xue looked at her and asked, "What are these?" "These are contract charms that bind each other. As long as the few of us use the contract charms, we will be teleported together in the next world." Hearing this, the few of them were a little happy. Di Chenming asked, "Where did you get them?" When he asked, his eyes were full of deep thought. "I exchanged them with the locals." Tangua did not mind Di Chenming's attitude at all. "I get a lot of happiness fruits every day. They are very easy to talk to. I thought that since this place is very magical, there should be something related to it." Of course, these were not exchanged with the locals. They were things from her trading city. The people in Happiness City did not have them. But if the outsiders in the city had been to the trading city, they might have these things. No matter how smart Di Chenming was, he would not be able to guess this. When he heard Tangua say that she exchanged with the locals, he immediately dispelled his doubts. After the few of them used the contract charms, they lived the same life every day. Di Chenming could not get a considerable amount of happiness fruits at the happiness tree. He could only go to the food court and eat more food to earn Rubik's Cube coins. Every time, he could eat 150,000 and earn 150 Rubik's Cube coins. But when he saw that Ying Xue could get 2 to 5 happiness fruits at a time and exchange them for at least 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins, he felt very unbalanced. Speaking of which, he had never been so poor. After saving for almost a month, he only had 2 to 3,000 Rubik's Cube coins. He was really helpless. As for Tangua and Gong Wei, they went to the shops every day and bought a mess of things. Gong Wei used all the happiness fruits he got to buy her a dress. Di Chenming thought that Ying Xue had never suffered. In the past, he could buy her all kinds of things with a wave of his hand. Now, in order to save Rubik's Cube coins, Ying Xue bought 2 sets of clothes that could be exchanged. He was embarrassed. Even Yin Rue and his sister were dressed to the nines and looked pretty good. "Ming, you don't seem very happy recently. Are you worried about which city you will be teleported to next?" Ying Xue asked. Tangua and Gong Wei were sitting at the side. When they heard their conversation, they hurriedly looked over. Gong Wei noticed that Tangua seemed to like to pay attention to Di Chenming. From her eyes, it was clear that she was not interested in Di Chenming. She seemed to want him to be unlucky. Because of this, he actually let out a sigh of relief. "Nothing," Di Chenming replied. "I just feel that the Rubik's Cube world is very strange. I don't know what strange things we will encounter next, but my luck isn't that good. I can't get that many Rubik's Cube coins in Happiness City. I'm sorry for making you suffer. Ming, what are you thinking? Isn't what's mine also yours?" Di Chenming was not comforted. He was a person who cared a lot about his reputation. After living in Happiness City for so long, his self-confidence and face were completely gone. In his heart, a question arose. How could such a strange and unreasonable place exist? If he had the ability, he would definitely destroy this strange place. Those who were forced to stay in Happiness City, were they really happy? They just tied themselves up in this place for the sake of survival. No matter how he thought about it, he felt that this place was evil and sinful. It would be great if he could destroy this place one day. Chapter 1566. I can feel it. It's an uncomfortable aura coming from Di Chanming. Gong Wei's voice only reached Tangwa's ears. You're right. This person is not friendly to the Rubik's Cube world. They were all city lords of the Rubik's Cube world. They lived and died together with the Rubik's Cube world. Di Chanming didn't hide his disgust at all. He instantly felt it. Now he finally understood why Tangwa was so sure that the other party could bring danger to the Rubik's Cube world. There weren't many outsiders who entered the Rubik's Cube world who would reveal such a disgusting aura. Gong Wei, don't give yourself away. If the people behind you find out, we'll be following you for nothing. Don't worry. I can still do this. Tangwa glanced at Gong Wei. Seeing that he was expressionless, she smiled and nodded. That's right. You won't show any other expression. Who knows what you're thinking? Gong Wei thought for a moment and said, I won't show any other expression because I don't want to. Those expressions are superfluous. It doesn't mean that I don't know how to. Oh, so you know how to? Tangwa said with a smile. Then why don't you smile for me? The conversation between the two could be heard by the others. When Yin Xiaofei heard that Tangwa wanted Gong Wei to smile for her, she almost spat out. How could she tease her boyfriend like this? If she had such a handsome boyfriend, she would definitely take good care of him. Looking at his face every day, she would feel comfortable. Who cares if he smiled or not? Gong Wei was silent. Why was this woman always asking for a yard after getting an inch? She made him sleep on the floor for almost a month, and now she wanted him to smile in public. Looking at the surrounding eyes, he expressed that he couldn't do it. However, looking at her expectant look, he couldn't refuse. He really didn't know when he had this problem of not being able to refuse, and it was only towards her. He must find out what was going on. When we go back to the room, I'll smile for you alone. Gong Wei's mind flashed, and he thought that this was the most appropriate way. He wouldn't smile foolishly in front of these people and be seen as a joke. He also wouldn't let her down. He didn't know that when he spoke like this, in the impression of Yin Xiaofei and the others, he was a soft, well-behaved, and obedient boyfriend. His image was long gone. Tangwa had a meaningful look in her eyes. In the end, she revealed a very doting smile. Okay, since you like to smile in the room, let's go back to the room, okay? She tugged at Gong Wei. Let's go, boyfriend. Let's go to the room and smile for me alone. Gong Wei, did he make a wrong decision? Who knew that she would make it happen on the spot? What he said just now was just a delaying tactic. He thought that she would forget about it after turning around. Especially when he felt the ambiguous gazes of the others, Gong Wei felt that his innocence was at stake. However, his legs did not listen to him. He actually obediently listened to her and returned to his room. I want a boyfriend like that too. He's good-looking, gives all his money to his girlfriend, and is obedient. Does Gong Wei think that we don't deserve to see his smile, so he only showed it to Tangwa? Yin Xiaofei held her face and said enviously. Yin Rue knocked on her forehead. Go back to your room and sleep. You can have everything in your dreams. There's no one else here. Gong Wei, you can smile for me. In the room, Tangwa crossed her arms and looked at Gong Wei, who was standing upright. Gong Wei's face was stiff, but when he heard her words, his expression became even more serious. Chapter 1567. Gong Wei was about to ask if he could stop smiling. However, he saw that Tangwa kept looking at him. If he said that he would go back to his room and smile, he would feel like he had shot himself in the foot. He revealed a slightly helpless look. Then I'll give it a try. System, an unprincipled person. Then I'll wait. To be honest, I haven't seen you smile before. I'm really looking forward to it. Gong Wei was a little embarrassed at first, but when he heard that she was looking forward to it, her beautiful eyes were really filled with anticipation. He had a feeling that he had to smile today to show her. Gong Wei pondered for a while, trying to recall the funny things that had happened to those outsiders. Eventually, he thought back to how Di Chanming would only get a single leaf every time he prayed for blessings. That caused his lips to curl up into a faint smile. Fiske, you look quite good when you smile. Was he being praised? He was obviously doing something that did not suit his status. Why did he feel a little happy? The next rotation will be the day after tomorrow. Tangwa changed the topic and did not make things difficult for Gongwei. The next place is Fun City. How do you know? Gongwei asked. The contract talisman was actually useless to the two of them. She took it out just to keep the four of them together. When the world of the Rubik's Cube rotated, they could just follow the four of them. As for where Di Chunming and the other three would be teleported to, even they, as the city lords of the Rubik's Cube world, could not predict. I calculated it. Do you believe it?
Yes.
He did not believe it. He was not stupid. This woman indeed had a secret. That secret must have existed when he was in a trance that day. However, no matter how he thought about it, he could not guess what her secret was. Facing Gongwei's deep gaze, Tangwa did not care. He could guess. Anyway, he could not guess. On the day when the world of the Rubik's Cube rotated, all the people who knew about it came to the streets. There was also a strange phenomenon in the sky. The sun, which was originally a sunny day, was falling rapidly in the sky. The locals seemed to know something. At this time, there was no one on the streets. They were all outsiders from various places. Those who knew about it did not panic in the face of such a situation, even if darkness had appeared in the sky. On the other hand, there were some who didn't know what was going on, and those who had arrived a few days ago who couldn't help but scream in fear. Yin Xiaofei hurriedly grabbed Yin Rue. Di Chunming also carefully protected Ying Xue in his arms. The most relaxed ones were Tangwa and Gongwei. Gongwei didn't know if he was out of his mind. She was clearly fine, but he actually subconsciously hugged her in his arms. Gongwei, what is it? You are becoming more and more of a gentleman. Gongwei, he didn't want to, but his body seemed to be out of control. System, no, you want to. Actually, what you did was right. Nothing is absolute. What if something really happened during the teleportation? Didn't you protect me? Maybe. What she said seemed to make sense. Gongwei had no intention of letting her go. This time, he protected her in his arms with a clear conscience. He was surrounded by darkness, and the countless screams could not disturb him. Tangwa heard Gongwei's heart thumping and asked, "You didn't go out much in the past. It's just a small rotation, but you're actually so nervous. Your little heart is beating like a few horses galloping." Chapter 1568. Tell me, are you hugging me because you're scared? Gongwei, it's not like that. He moved his own hands. While Gongwei was struggling, the surroundings changed again. A strong white light suddenly appeared in the dark night, blinding the people who had been keeping their eyes open. The moment they lost their sight, they felt their bodies fly up uncontrollably. When they exclaimed, their feet touched the ground again. At this time, they could open their eyes again. They collectively appeared in a huge square. The square was big, but it looked a little shabby. The sun in the sky rose slowly and hung above their heads. What is this place? The people who had just entered the Rubik's Cube world were curious about this place. The people who were transported to the shabby square were not only from Happiness City, but also from other cities. The veterans who wandered in the Rubik's Cube world had already gone in a certain direction. Gongwei looked around and thought to himself, it's really Fun City. So, how did she know that they would go to Fun City this time? Then, did she know about every place they went to next? This should be Fun City, right? Ying Xue said. They didn't stay in Happiness City for a month for nothing. It should be, Di Chunming answered. Yin Xiaofei said curiously, is it the legendary place where we can earn Rubik's Cube coins by playing the rides in Fun City? We have to play it once a day. If we don't go, we'll be kicked out of the city. Let's go and have a look. It's great that we can earn Rubik's Cube coins by playing. Tangwa didn't stop Yin Xiaofei. She was also curious about Ying Xue. After some discussion, they decided to check out the rides in Fun City first. When they arrived at the destination and saw the scene in front of them, Yin Xiaofei's smile froze on her face. She looked around and asked, are they serious? Ying Xue couldn't help but ask, aren't they asking for our lives? Yin Rue's legs were trembling. Aren't they playing with our lives? There are some that aren't that dangerous. Let's go to those that aren't. Di Qinming took a deep breath. Everything here was unbelievable to him. What fun city! It was clearly a city that played with one's life. I think that merry-go-round isn't that tall. Even if there's a problem, we won't get hurt. Why don't we try that? In Xiaofei suggested and pointed at the merry-go-round. No one objected. However, when they reached the merry-go-round, there were already people on it. But looking at the crumbling merry-go-round that looked like it was about to break and collapse, In Xiaofei almost fainted from fright. It was a city of life and death. Bang! Suddenly, there was a loud noise that scared In Xiaofei so much that her legs trembled. Perhaps because there were too many people below, the top of the merry-go-round was unable to support the weight and collapsed. Chapter 1570. Piamiao Ferry. Campus Bell, are you really in Fun City? Silver Ring. Where are you? We are in Mountain Pass City. What do you mean when you say you can't be too familiar with us for the time being? I forgot to ask you what you're going to do in this world. Tanghua, I'm here to look for you. My teammates are queuing up to ride the seesaw. They probably won't be able to take care of me. The two of them were very happy when they saw the message. They said they would wait for her on the roller coaster. Every time they came to Fun City, they would choose the most dangerous ride. After all, the more dangerous the ride, the more magic cube coins they would get. According to the original plan, with the help of the original owner, she would take Di Chanming and the others to the most dangerous ride. With her help secretly, they wouldn't get hurt even if there were problems in those rides. There was everything in the trading city. The amulets she gave them were enough for them to play all the rides here once. Naturally, they would get a lot of magic cube coins. Tanghua didn't plan to do that now. If she wanted to get magic cube coins and not be chased out of the city, she would go and play on her own. Fun City wasn't ruthless. Small rides like the seesaw could be regarded as a lifeline for people who came to this city. Although they couldn't get many magic cube coins by riding the seesaw, they could save their lives. The difference between Fun City and Happiness City was that there were no local people here. There was no danger. You just had to agree to become a local. There were only outsiders in this dilapidated Fun City. Once someone died because of the rides, the Fun City would automatically clear the place and return to its original state. It was humane, strange, and scary. But as long as you didn't seek death, you wouldn't die. There were also greedy people who always thought that they were an exception. For the sake of high rewards, they would take on those dangerous projects and end up playing themselves to death. They knew that there was a 100% chance that something would happen, but there were still people who would risk their lives for magic cube coins. I'm going to take a look at other places, Tanghua said to the others. Seesaw? Forget about it. If she really sat on the seesaw with Gongwei here, the mayor of Fun City would definitely run out and laugh at them when he found out. Tanghua, where are you going? Why don't you queue up and go after the seesaw? Otherwise, you won't be able to queue up when it's dark, In Xiaofei said worriedly. There must be those scary monsters outside the city. You two are so good-looking. You must be very popular outside the city. In Rue nodded. Ying Xue also said, Xiaofei is right. We should stay alive first. It's strange here. Will it be dangerous outside the city? Di Qinming did not say anything. The only people he cared about were the few people who came with them. People like Tanghua and Gongwei, who joined halfway and didn't come from the same place, didn't take them to heart at all. I want to go to other places. See if there are safer rides. Ying Xue wanted to say something but was interrupted by Di Chanming. Let her go. She might really be able to find a better project. It'll be another way. In Di Chanming's heart, he still felt that there was something wrong with Tanghua. He had never dispelled his suspicions of her. Calm. Di Chanming was still suspicious and even fearful. Chapter 1571. Just like the original owner, who didn't leave any leeway and took out all kinds of magical things to help him, How could he not be suspicious? She just wanted to show a little bit of uniqueness, but these benefits couldn't be enjoyed by Di Chunming. Look at his mentality, balance, and unbalance. How would he suspect her? In the end, when he encountered that divine artifact dagger, would he still make the same choice? Host, I think that if you do this, he might choose to stand on the side of the divine artifact dagger without hesitation. He has already begun to grow crooked. He's already crooked. How can he be crooked? I didn't harm him. I just didn't help him. If because of this, he thinks I'm a bad person and wants to join forces with that soul to get rid of me, it only shows that he's narrow-minded. People like him like to be the center of attention and can't stand being controlled by others. Especially after seeing the magic of the Rubik's Cube world, he is no longer satisfied with dominating the mortal world. Believe it or not, if one day it becomes easy to get out of the Rubik's Cube world, no matter how dangerous it is, there will be more people who want to come in again. Tangua's lips were brimming with a smile. This place can satisfy everyone's desires. It's the heaven in people's hearts. No one can escape. Look at these people wandering in the Rubik's Cube world. They're still working so hard to get the Rubik's Cube coins. Is it really just to get out? They just want to get more things before they go out. Where are we going now? Gongwei asked, but he didn't let Tangua let go of his arm. After nearly a month, he had already gotten used to being held by her at all times. When there was danger, he clearly knew that nothing would happen to her, but he still subconsciously protected her. He was becoming stranger and stranger. To see two friends. Gongwei suddenly thought of what he had just heard. Those two lunatics on the roller coaster? He had seen these two people before. In the Rubik's Cube world, there were also many people from the cultivation world who left a deep impression on him. These two cultivators who crazily earned the Rubik's Cube coins and especially wanted to go out, left a deeper impression on him than other cultivators. Because they really wanted to go out. They had been here for thousands of years, but they didn't give up on treatment like other cultivators. Their desire to go out grew stronger and stronger day by day. Piao Miao Fairy and Yin Huan? That's right, it's them. Gongwei hesitated and asked, when did they become friends with you? A long time ago. Gongwei was very suspicious. A long time ago? The city lord of the Magic Cube world was born with the Magic Cube world. Other than the Magic Cube world, you can't go to other places. Until a new city lord was born, their lives would come to an end. At the end of their lives, they would have two choices. First, the death of life. The second was to become an ordinary member of a city in the Rubik's Cube world and live forever. Perhaps those two people had gotten to know her when he wasn't paying attention. Gongwei didn't guess anything else because they had already arrived at the roller coaster. The roller coaster here was not only shabby, but the track was also steep and dangerous. Even if the entertainment facilities were brand new, they might not have the guts to sit on them. At this moment, the roller coaster was still running fast. During this period of time, many people had already fallen from above. Chapter 1572. Screams rang out, scaring the passers-by. Their legs and stomachs were trembling. They didn't understand why these lunatics would choose to ride the roller coaster. Those who dared to ride the roller coaster must have made their own preparations. Those who fell didn't lose their lives. Those who knew the situation were also envious. Riding the roller coaster for 5,000 Rubik's coins, these two lunatics were already famous. Every time they came to Fun City, these two lunatics would occupy the most dangerous entertainment. No one dared to fight with them. Fun City was different from Happiness City. Fighting was allowed here. No one would care if someone was injured, disabled, or killed. In addition to the entertainment, there was also a place that sold food automatically. At this time, only Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring were left on the roller coaster. The parts of the roller coaster were still falling down, and there were many people around watching. Some were dumbfounded, some were envious, and some were trembling in fear. After the roller coaster ran half a lap, the parts finally stopped falling. Everyone focused their eyes. Wasn't it about to stop falling? Because in the entire roller coaster, only the seats where Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring were sitting, and the wheels below were still supporting for some reason. Tangua held Gongwei's hand, and her gaze fell on the two of them. The two of them looked more excited. Piao Miao Fairy was wearing a white waist-length dress, and Wanderer Silver Ring was wearing a simple robe. Sitting on the roller coaster, the two of them looked like they were floating in the air. Silver Ring, look at that girl in the black dress. Is she our school belle? Piao Miao Fairy inadvertently glanced down and happened to see Tang was standing in the crowd with an outstanding appearance. She's so pretty. She must be the school belle. Do you see? She's looking at me. I think so. But who's the man beside her? Who else could it be? He must be the school belle's gigolo. Just look at his face. Wanderer Silver Ring unconsciously touched his face. In that case, he still had the potential to be a gigolo, although he was slightly inferior to the man below. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had reached the end of the roller coaster. The two of them stood up at the same time. Everyone subconsciously looked at where they had been sitting. Only a few crashing sounds could be heard. It turned out that after the two of them got up, the chairs and roller coaster wheels they were sitting on had been shattered into pieces. How terrifying. These two lunatics. When the two of them passed through the exit, a pile of magic cube coins appeared in front of them. They casually put them away. Everyone was surprised to see them walk out. Don't they only ride the roller coaster on the first day? Could it be that he wanted to change the entertainment? It's only been 3 to 5 laps. Chapter 1573. As Piao Miao Fairy spoke, she shared in the group that she was about to be on the same ship as Tanghua. She also sent a picture. It just so happened that there were people playing the pirate ship and watching the parts of the pirate ship fall. Friends in the group, it's a long story. Ziyun. It's one thing to play, but if you hurt the girl, don't blame me for being hostile. Qi Xiao and Imo Yun Tian also hurriedly expressed that they couldn't hurt Tanghua. Actually, they also knew that Tanghua wasn't simple and wouldn't get hurt easily. However, they still couldn't help but worry. Then, Silver Ring glanced at Gong Wei. Are you afraid? In his impression, Gong Wei was Tanghua's gigolo. Gong Wei didn't understand. He only thought that Silver Ring was worried that he would be afraid. He said straightforwardly, I'm not afraid. I will protect her well. Silver Ring was amused. He thought to himself, a gigolo who's being kept still wants to protect our school belle. He's really overestimating himself. However, when he saw Gong Wei's expression remain unchanged when the pirate ship started shaking and the parts kept falling down, he was somewhat impressed. The school belle was indeed the school belle. The gigolo she was keeping was definitely not a simple person. You can get 2,000 Rubik's Cube coins for sitting on the pirate ship once. Piao Miao Fairy said, this is suitable for old players of the Rubik's Cube world. It's not recommended for newbies. If a newbie went up to play, it would be a dead end. There was no other way. When the surrounding people heard these two lunatics encouraging the beautiful couple to play the pirate ship, they became curious. Could it be that these two newbies were also experts? Under everyone's gaze, Tanghua followed Piao Miao Fairy and sat on the old pirate ship. The original appearance of the ship should be pretty good. The color was originally quite rich. Perhaps because it had existed for too long, the color on it had faded. Some parts were even rusty. If this was a ride in the mortal world, it would have long been sealed or replaced. There were quite a number of people sitting on the pirate ship. At least half of them were seated. Those who could play these rides, as long as they had been in the Rubik's Cube world for a long time, basically all knew each other. Seeing Tanghua and Gong Wei, these two unfamiliar faces, they couldn't help but look at them. When did you two come? The person sitting in front of them turned around and asked, do you know what's going to happen later? Do you have any life-saving talismans or floating talismans? If you don't, you'll die if you fall. In fact, the person who spoke was just an ordinary person. However, his luck was not bad. His journey had been very smooth. After accumulating a lot of magic cube coins, he bought a lot of life-saving charms in the trading city. As long as it wasn't someone who killed him, or if he killed himself, there would be no problem for him to survive. He was not reminding Tanghua out of kindness. He just wanted to see if these two newbies would be scared to death later. Even if he had some skills, when the parts of the pirate ship fell and his body sank, It would not be easy for him to avoid getting injured. As for those two from Misty Cloud, they were freaks and couldn't be compared. The pirate ship started to sway. The person in front stopped talking, and his expression became serious. Even though he had a life-saving talisman, his face was still very pale. Gong Wei subconsciously hugged Tanghua in his arms. Wanderer Huan looked at his actions and was somewhat amused. This gigolo really knew how to please the school belle. Your reaction is not bad. You're becoming more and more gentlemanly. Tanghua did not refuse and allowed Gong Wei to hug her. Chapter 1574. Gong Wei glanced at the woman in his arms. Every time he hugged her, he felt very satisfied. It seemed that only by hugging her could the missing corner of his heart be fulfilled. Did you get the secret technique from them? Gong Wei suddenly leaned over to Tanghua's ear and whispered, "One day a month ago, I suddenly felt that something was wrong, so I subconsciously came to find you." Now that he saw that Tanghua and Yin Huan knew each other, he couldn't help but wonder if these two immortal cultivators had some strange secret technique in their hands and gave it to her to practice. "I didn't practice any secret technique," Tanghua said with a smile, "but if I really practiced some secret technique that caused your abnormality, what would you do?" Gong Wei was stumped by the question. What to do? What else could he do? Now he couldn't control his behavior. It was as if his whole being was controlled by her, and he was especially happy. Is it difficult to answer this question? Thump. At this moment, a seat next to them suddenly caved in. The person sitting next to them screamed and then shouted in midair, "Damn it! Why was I the first one to fall?" Then, there was the sound of the other person falling to the ground. At that moment, Gong Wei hugged the woman in his arms even tighter. He glanced down. That person was not dead and was climbing out of the ruins. Obviously, he was an old player who had a life-saving talisman. Those who didn't sit from the beginning to the end would have half of their magic cube coins deducted. Therefore, those who fell in the middle could only get half of their magic cube coins. Many people felt that the amusement park was playing hooligan. Take advantage of this time. You can think about it. Just as Tanghua finished speaking, the person in the seat in front of them also fell down with a loud thud. That person limped out of the ruins. After getting the magic cube coins, he didn't leave. Instead, he stood aside and looked at the pair of unfamiliar faces on the pirate ship who were still hugging each other. "I bet 100 magic cube coins that they will look very ugly when they fall. I also bet that they will definitely fall quickly. In short, they can't stay at the end." As the parts of the pirate ship continued to fall, there were fewer and fewer people on it. Seeing so many veteran players fall down, Tanghua and Gong Wei were still sitting steadily in their chairs. They felt a little unbalanced. Next, they would wait for the pirate ship to do something big. For example, they would fall from the top. He waited and waited. Even when it was over, the two of them had no intention of falling. Pyamyao Fairy and the other two also found it strange. They had all prepared ropes. When the entire pirate ship fell, they would directly use the ropes to hang on it. In the end, the pirate ship today was especially friendly, and they sat at the end. The four of them came down safely from the top. They did not bring Tanghua to find other stimuli. After all, it was already a little late. At night, all the projects in the amusement park would stop running. "Let's go see how my teammates are doing," Tanghua said. Pyamyao Fairy and Pyamyao Fairy looked at each other. They felt that their school belle's arrival in this world had something to do with the teammates she mentioned. When they arrived at the seesaw, Tanghua saw Di Chenming, whose face was gloomy and a little swollen. There were also many traces of being beaten up on Yin Rue's body. Tanghua raised her eyebrows slightly. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Have you sat on the seesaw?" Ying Shue looked at the group of people in the distance and shook her head.
Yes.
"They are too much. What right do they have to occupy this place and take so many Rubik's Cube coins?" Yin Xiaofei said indignantly. Di Chunming clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. He suddenly raised his head and asked, "Tanghua, have you found any safer entertainment on your side?" "No." Ying Shue asked again, "Have you played any projects?" "Yes," Tanghua said with a smile. "Gong Wei and I played on a pirate ship. A pirate ship? Rue was incredulous. The kind that shakes and drops parts and throws people out? He almost didn't ask how they were still alive. Tangwa pursed her lips and said, "Mine and Gong Wei's might have been better. The pirate ship didn't want to hurt us, so we didn't fall." Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring looked at each other. It was the first time they saw the school belle acting cool face to face. The effect was indeed different. "Why don't we play on a pirate ship tomorrow?" Tangwa suggested. "What do you think?" In Xiaofei said, "Forget it." She couldn't guarantee that she would be so lucky. Di Chenming refused without thinking. "No, that's too dangerous. Shuer isn't suitable." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.